Advocates in San Francisco are still pushing for the short-sighted plan that would tax vacant units. I'm Tony, and this is Real Estate Investing and Landlord News. All right, so I have an interesting article for you today, and it's an update to a video that I did a little while back where they were talking about taxing vacant units in the city of San Francisco. So what their thought behind this is, and I'll say right now, I don't agree with it, but their thought is that landlords are keeping properties vacant, right? And they're doing this on purpose because, they know they can make more money off of appreciation and don't have to deal with tenants. And maybe they can get the apartments deregulated from rent control. And, basically they're hurting the tenants. That's what their thought is, okay? My thought is there are, a dozen or more legitimate reasons why you would want to keep your unit vacant, and being punished to keep your property vacant, that's wrong, okay? I know that there's a shortage of affordable housing in a place like San Francisco, but that doesn't mean that a guy who wants to own a second home and keep one of the units vacant, that doesn't mean that he should be penalized for it, okay? This is the kind of ridiculousness that we're seeing coming out of these very far left-leaning, very progressive places, okay? And I just can't agree with it, and I think that what they're trying to do is they're trying to drive out capitalism. They don't like capitalism. They're fans of socialism. They believe that the government should be put in charge of everything. They believe that there should be government price controls on everything, and they don't realize the problems that are caused when you have these kind of systems put in place. And that the systems themselves are the ones that are causing the housing shortage. This is ridiculous, okay? But nothing surprising coming out of California, and especially out of San Francisco, okay? Now, before I get into the article, go ahead, hit the like and subscribe button. Maybe leave a comment down below. Let me know what you think, okay? Have you seen this kind of proposal anywhere else? And if you have, what did you think of it? I mean, vacancy control. I've heard of it in places like Canada, where they were talking about doing this sort of thing, but I'm not sure that it was ever even implemented there. And that's a very, very progressive place up there, But, because I believe they were having the issue of a lot of people from overseas were buying condos, etc., in a place like Vancouver and then keeping them empty. And meanwhile, the housing costs were just skyrocketing for the locals. And so they thought maybe that kind of thing would help. Now, I don't know if it was actually implemented or not. I never followed up on it. But, what do you think would be the result of something like that happening here in the United States? So, this article is coming from 48hills.org, and it says, a rousing kickoff for a plan to tax landlords who keep units vacant. More than 150 rally to put an empty homes tax on the SF ballot. Yeah, and I've covered articles from this publication before. It is a very, left-leaning progressive article. And yeah, it's not what I normally would cover, but it's interesting to see stories from the tenant side. And I like to rip them up. I like to rip up their arguments and, say what we are thinking, okay? But let's get into it. More than 150 people showed up at Alamo Square Park today to kick off the campaign for a tax on vacant housing. It was a lively and festive crowd with 4 supervisors, the district attorney, the public defender, and members of the school board and community college board on hand. Notice that they didn't say anything about any landlords being on hand. And they listed off a whole bunch of politicians, right? And I would be willing to bet that none of these politicians owns any real estate, and they have no clue what is involved in owning a property and why a landlord might want to keep a property vacant. So they're out here trying to get votes, trying to show how progressive they are, because that's what they do. Yeah, they don't actually understand business, and that's why they're politicians. But anyway, let's keep going. The idea, sponsored originally by Dean Preston, comes after a report by the Board of Supervisors budget analyst showed that the city has 40,000 vacant housing units. Speakers at the event kept bringing up those numbers and pointing out that landlords are simply keeping valuable housing off the market in hopes of making more money later. There are 40,000 vacant units and 10,000 homeless people, Preston told the crowd. In my district, there are entire apartment buildings that are empty. So yeah, here they go with this stuff again, talking about the homeless. Okay, so as though a landlord, okay, there's 10,000 homeless people and there's 40,000 vacant units. So why don't the landlords just put those homeless people into their vacant units? And I'm like, no, okay, you don't seem to understand that a landlord putting a homeless person into a vacant unit, it's a liability putting that person into your unit. First of all, if you put a person in who can't pay the rent, then, and, possibly will tear your property up, terrorize your other tenants, possibly, cause a lot of problems for you. What is the benefit? And with their eviction laws out there in San Francisco and in California, they wouldn't be able to get this person out of the unit if they let them come in. So why the heck would any landlord want to do that? So are there some landlords keeping their units vacant so they can make more money? Yes. Absolutely yes. Are you out of your minds if you think that landlords don't want to make money? You're out of your minds. And saying that landlords don't have the right to make money, whatever way they choose with their property, well, go on to a nice communist country and enjoy the lifestyle over there. Otherwise, you can stay here and you can deal with capitalism like the rest of us, okay? This is the fairest way to do things. Landlords have a right to make money. They're putting huge investments in these properties, and I think that if they want to keep the unit vacant, betting on appreciation or betting on being able to get higher rents in the future, that is their choice and they have the right to do it. But yeah, they have some pictures here of the protesters, I guess, and I'll throw them up on the screen. And, it looks like the typical group of people who don't know anything about, like you can tell by looking at these people that they're not business owners. They're not the type of people who actually create, they don't bring jobs to a place. They don't, improve the economy. They're kind of like, the leeches, all right? They take from the government, they take from private business, they take from other taxpayers so that they can live their I got my rent controlled unit. I got my affordable housing. So screw everyone else. That's the way they think. Okay. And, it starts off at these very, very left-leaning, far left liberal colleges where they start teaching this stuff. And the next thing we've got adults here who don't think that they should have to pay high rent to live in one of the most popular cities in the entire country. That's how ridiculous this is. Now, I just can't understand why these people are doing this, but coming from their logic of, well, the big landlord is always bad, the landlord is always some rich person. Yeah, you begin to understand that they're just very, very sheltered in their thinking. Okay, but anyway, let me keep going. I don't want to insult these people too much. Well, yeah, I don't mind insulting them because it's just ridiculous. Bobby Lopez, who works with Build Affordable Faster California, said that the measure, I'm guessing they would say, would disincentivize people to hold their properties vacant. Supervisor Connie Chan noted that the measure is not about taxing small landlords. It's going after big speculators. It's going to cost landlords a lot to keep units vacant, Preston said. We're going to change the equation, and we can use that money to buy vacant properties and make them into affordable housing. Yeah, see, here we go right there. They're trying to buy vacant properties. Basically, they want to take the money from the landlords, take the money from the people who are actually, who own properties, who actually are improving the economy, who actually, creating jobs, and then they're going to take it, give it to the government, and then let the government take over housing. See what I mean? Okay, this is socialism, pure and simple. And what was he saying up here a little bit earlier? Oh yeah, it's not about taxing the small landlords. They always say that. Okay, they always say, hey, we're going after these big guys. We're going after the really, really big landlords, not the little guys. You know, the little guys are okay. They always say that. But every single rule that they put in place to go after these big landlords always hits the small landlords, okay? They expand the program so that it goes to lower and lower levels. Next thing you know, it's on a single family home that some guy inherited from his grandma, and he's just keeping it empty so that his children can move into there, they're taxing the heck out of him for it, and to the point where he has to sell the property to pay the freaking taxes. That's how bad this stuff gets, okay? So I'm not having it. I don't like it. I hope this kind of garbage doesn't pass. And I don't want to see stuff like this expanding outside of California. I don't want to see it even in California, because this is an unconstitutional taking of private property for public use, in my opinion. Okay, this goes back to the whole Fifth Amendment argument. The government believes they own your property, and they're going to take your property and force you to rent it out even if you don't want to.